This is Wedding DJ School, your guide to the business of a wedding DJ. We're talking with leaders in the wedding entertainment industry. You're going to hear their backstories, how they got started, and where they are today. This is Josh Mitchell. I'm honored to be together with you just to talk about building a business that is bigger than yourself. And I'm not sure where you are in your journey. You may have just started and you're interested in becoming a wedding DJ, or you may have been DJing for a long time. And whatever the case is, I just want to say that I'm grateful that you're here. I think that you'll get something out of these episodes. But before we dive in today, I want to remind you that you have access for free to a ton of action guides with a very simple text. So if you text Wedding DJ, one word, Wedding DJ, to the number 44222, we will send you all of the action guides from season 1 of the podcast. And that includes advice on what to do with contracts. It includes an equipment checklist. It includes recommended reading and tips on how to stay resilient so that you don't burn out, and a ton more, all for free. And all you have to do is text Wedding DJ to 44222. We'll ask for your email address, and then we'll send over all the links to those resources for you. So I want to point that out before we jump into today's show. You are going to meet Madison Wentz. Madison is from Canada, and he started his business just a few years ago. So he's on the front part of his journey, but what I love about Madison is his resilience and his enthusiasm. And Madison is actually in a wheelchair, but he has found a way to still DJ, and he'll talk to us today about that. But wherever you are in your journey, I know you can learn something today from Madison and his whole approach and his whole attitude. So let's meet him now, and I hope that you will enjoy this episode as much as I did having this conversation.
I'm Madison Wentz, and my DJ company is Mad Tunes Entertainment, which actually comes from a nickname. Nickname is Mad, so I kind of just went from there and made that. And I've been doing this for about 3 years as a company. And we are based in Canada, in Manitoba.
Awesome. So how did you get into it? Like, what was that like becoming a DJ?
Well, I've always liked listening to music and just playing music in my backyard and stuff for around the fire and stuff when I was younger. And then I had a part-time at the local bar. So I started doing that on weekends. And then from there, I kind of just realized, hey, this is fun. I enjoy doing this. So I kind of branched out and started my own company.
Now, there's something unique about you. Tell us kind of where, kind of what's unique about you as a DJ.
Well, the first thing people always ask, like, I'm in a wheelchair. So they're always like, how do you do this? How do you do that? Like, load in and write all the labor part of DJing. So I always just have an assistant with me who does all that. And sometimes I think I sound pretty bossy because I know how I want it to look like. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm envisioning. But so there's that. And then I just recently started using a controller. So that's pretty fun. Getting the hang of using that one too. And
so what allowed you to get to that point where you thought that, hey, this is something that I want to do, even though I am in a wheelchair, I am going to DJ. Talk to me about that, how you decided to go down that route.
Well, I always wanted to do something for work, and it's just like locally I had tried applying, and there just didn't seem to be a proper fit. So I just kind of it's like, well, I love listening to music, and I like the customer service part. So I was like, well, I'll just give this a go, and did a few weddings, and I got into that. It all pretty much came down to wanting to work and couldn't, so I just kind of made my own thing happen.
That's awesome. I love the motivation and the drive to want to make it happen for yourself, and to not just be beaten down by, what everybody else is saying, but taking the initiative to move forward. So tell me about your first wedding, or when you first started doing an event like that and you first got paid to show up to play music. That's something that, you would consider that you enjoy, and that kind of thing. What was it like doing that first wedding? Tell me the story of that and how that all happened.
Well, I mean, I probably did have a big smile on my face after when I got paid. It's like, yay, I got paid for like working and doing what I like. But no, I think that's like I had a feeling of I'm gonna make this happen. This is gonna be like the best wedding, and I feel that it went off like pretty good. I got a good review on my first one, so that always upped my spirits there and helped me get the motivation to continue and want to even improve more.
How did your first client find you? Was it a friend of the family? Was it somebody that you knew through a connection? Like, how did that first wedding come about?
No, it was actually somebody I've never met before. They had just found me on Wedding Wire actually, and we just kind of we did a meeting in person at a coffee shop, and we kind of just linked. No, that's not the proper word. Um, we kind of just hit it off together as like we almost known each other. We were almost like friends instantly, and I don't know, it just worked out pretty good.
So I remember the first wedding that I did was a friend, and the second wedding that I did was a friend. But then I started getting referred to people, and a very similar situation to you. I went to a coffee shop, and that's how I met with people. So people ask me all the time, it's like, oh, well, do you need an office in order to become a DJ? Do you need this? Do you need that? And I tell people, no, you make it happen for yourself. So I love hearing that from you, that you went and you met with them in a coffee shop.
Yeah, oh yeah, I actually still do. That's if we do in-person meetings, which actually doesn't happen too often, but when it does happen, I just have kind of a go-to local coffee shop, and we go there. I buy them a coffee, and yeah, and there's really not too much of a reason for an office if you're only doing a few meetings. Just
Right. Yeah.
treat them coffee.
Yeah. And I think people can sometimes they can get hung up, especially in the early days when they're trying to make it happen. And those are really the people that are kind of on my heart and on my mind that I want to help to grow and help to succeed. And you can sometimes have these limiting beliefs that, oh, in order for me to be official, I need to have an office like the guy down the street, or in order for me to do this legitimately, I need to have business cards or whatever it is. Like there can be these mental blocks that we have, and I'm just encouraged by you to hear that it's like, nope, I'm going to do it at the coffee shop. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to have a profile on weddingwire.com.
Yep. Yeah, that was pretty much how that happened. It just so quick. It's just I don't even think I had business cards at that point. I don't even know if I yeah no I had the Mad Tunes figured out, yeah, because I had a profile. So but yeah, I didn't have any marketing materials or anything there. It's,
Yeah, and that's definitely a takeaway that I want to encourage other DJs about is in those early days when you're just getting started. Um, we all don't have it all figured out. You don't have every piece of collateral, every kind of thing on your website. I mean, some like for me, I didn't even have really my brand and my look wasn't figured out until later. So to kind of hear that from you, that you did know your name, you kind of had that piece of it figured out for the profile. We all come into it at the beginning from a different place, and it's okay wherever you're at. What advice would you give to somebody who's doing their first wedding or who's going into it for the first time?
just go into it. Just tell yourself you're gonna do it. This is gonna be one of the. This is your first wedding. It's gonna be a good first wedding. It's hard to say the best wedding because you will improve after, but it will be a good wedding. Just act as also just remember to act as like you know the couple. So almost tell yourself that you've known them. Like it's hard to you don't want to necessarily treat them. I mean, they you do want to treat them like friends, but they are also clients, right? They're not like don't go too far with saying they're your friends, I guess too.
Right, right, absolutely.
But
Do you,
and also
yeah, keep going.
also I do remember I did rent a lot of my equipment for the first one. Like I actually didn't own my stuff till maybe about the third wedding that I did. Then I decided, well, I should. Now this is picking up. I know I like doing it. It's working for me. So now I should invest in my own stuff.
Who did you rent from? Did you use like a commercial company or somebody that you knew?
It was just a local company, a local music store, and it's just a family-owned one here. So
I love that. Yeah, that for me, I felt like I needed to go out and buy everything when I first started off, and it's encouraging to hear that you rented, that you didn't have to, why invest all the money if it's something that you just want to try out and just, see if it's the right fit.
yeah, well, yeah, that was my thought. Yes.
I love that. So, do you have any pet peeves or anything that like really tick you off when you think about other DJs or things about the industry? What kind of like makes you a little angry or a little crazy?
Um, it doesn't really drive me crazy, but it is really funny that whole sit down and stand up argument there that you get seeing online sometimes with the like the real DJs don't sit or whatever. It's always fun butting in and just bringing up the fact that, well, if I did, I'd probably fall over. So it's
Sure.
but I mean, every DJ has their own technique. They do their own thing, so it's hard to have a pet peeve when somebody's doing their own thing.
Where is one area that you would not skimp when it comes to equipment?
That would be definitely. I find the laptops. I want something that isn't going to crash. To me, that's if that fails, you're pretty much that's your music, right? Your hard drive. So you got to make sure the computer doesn't fail. The speakers, well, you can always, if you really had to and it was small enough, you could resort to one. You could make it work. But if you lose your music library, that's a little more difficult to.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
a little more difficult to go around and pretend nothing's actually wrong.
Right. Yeah, I tell the story sometimes at my first wedding. I had all the music on my laptop, and for some reason, I don't know if it overheated or what, but it shut down during the first dance. And
Oh,
luckily, I had a backup. I had my iPad. This was like iPad 1, I think was the iPad that I was using. And I had this iPad next to me with it in the regular music app. And luckily, I had it backed up there. And there was a little bit of that panic moment, but it's really important. So I would agree with you. It's really important for DJs, especially if you're just starting off, to think about your computer and to think about that as you got to be able to rely on it. It's so important in the moment under the heat of the pressure in order to play those songs at exactly the right time, and you can't be guessing.
yeah.
It has to work.
Well, yeah, yeah. Also, actually, I had left my laptop. I had set up for a wedding, and it was a cloudy day under a tent. Okay, it was cloudy. It wasn't too hot. So it's like, okay, well, but I happened to leave my laptop there. Well, while I was gone, the sun decided to come out and heat it up real good. And actually, ever since then, my trackpad does not work. So luckily, I actually had a wired mouse with me because I couldn't select any music. The laptop would work, but I was not able to cue anything up or I was like, oh boy, this is not good.
Wow. Yeah, yeah, and similar experience to me as well. I had a time where I was using a different wedding, an iPad for the ceremony music, and it was right in the middle of the sun, and it was just laying there, and that black screen was probably attracting all the sun rays. And I had never seen this message before pop up on the iPad. It said, I can't even remember what it said because I haven't seen it since. It was like temperature overload, please cool down iPad. And I was like, oh my gosh, the wedding starts in like 10 minutes. And I'm trying to
Yep.
put it in the refrigerator, asking the catering team if I can just borrow the fridge for a moment. And what a little scare. So heat is
Oh
definitely
yeah.
something for people to think about when so many weddings are outside and lot of ceremonies are outside and receptions can be intense and that kind of thing. So it's important to think about the impact that weather might have on your equipment as well.
Yeah, especially this area, there's a lot of outdoor rustic barn weddings. So I actually did one. It's not heat, but I did one last weekend. It got to about 0 degrees Celsius in the barn. Like, it was cold. I was like, oh, I'm not sure if this is any better for it, but
Right. Yeah. The other end of the spectrum. Okay, great. So, what this is an interesting question, and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but there's no wrong answer to this. It's would you like to talk about one of the biggest mistakes you ever made when you were DJing?
Yeah, sure. I just got to think of it here.
Or any mistake, just to, and the purpose of this really
Right.
is to encourage people that, hey, guess what? Everybody makes mistakes. Like, if you make a mistake and something goes wrong, you're actually normal. That's what happens. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen. So just to encourage people, even if it's not something that's huge, but tell me about a mistake or that's something that went wrong at one point in your life as a DJ.
Well, I do remember a simple one. It was a dang button on the mixer, but like no audio would go through. It's like, what is wrong? Like audio would go through, but not my laptop through the USB port, right? Which is easy enough to go around, but I spent probably way too much time trying to figure it out than I should have. I'm actually really bad at that. I'm pretty bad at spending time on one issue that I could just quickly fix by doing it a different way, but I don't want to do it that way. So, but there was one button push that was not allowing the audio to go through, and this was again just before a ceremony start time. But I think too, then your mind, you almost freak out more over small things when it's just before a ceremony start time. I find it actually does not help you figure that issue out because your mind is racing even faster. Like, oh no. Trying to think though. I do remember at a reception, I had actually played the wrong version of a first dance. That was earlier when I first started. I know better now to ask, but yeah, no, that has happened
Did
before.
they say anything, or how did that go down?
Actually, the writing, no one actually said anything. No, I just know I did it. I'm sure they know too. Also, there's the ceremony. I had slowed down a song for something at one point, and I forgot that that was down. So the bride's entrance song, I actually forgot to speed it back up. So her cue was actually off because the whole song was off. And I don't know if she noticed or not because she never looked or made a face or said anything. But again, I know I did it. So it's all these small issues. It's not even a big issue, right? It's just all these small issues that you did, and it's almost makes I don't know. It almost made me feel bad knowing I did it, even though she didn't say anything. I was like, oh no.
Right, right. Yeah, and you're right. It's a lot of the times it's the small details that you need to pay the most amount of attention to. And it's like in the moment, they don't actually take the whole day and throw it down the tubes, but it's those little tiny things over time that you can learn to anticipate. And now, probably, what happened for you, and you can tell me if this is true or not, but you probably now check as soon as you slow down a song, you make sure that by the time you're playing the next one, that it's at the right moment. So we learn these lessons over time, and it happens through those kinds of experiences. So it's very normal for people to go through that. So that is so good to hear.
Now I almost run through the ceremony, yeah, in my office like 3 4 times like the day before the ceremony, and even the morning of the ceremony. I'll go through and replay all the songs, check my notes, make sure everything is right,
So tell me,
just so that doesn't.
yeah, that's awesome. Tell me a little bit more about that process for you. Like, what does that look like? Because I definitely fall into the same camp as you. I like to practice and I like to review all my notes. So if I were not a DJ and I was asking you, hey, what kind of goes into that process? Well, what does your planning and preparation process look like?
Well, first I have a online form that the couple, or usually it's the bride. To be honest, the groom really doesn't do a whole lot for the most part at a wedding. It's always the bride. But anyway, the couple fills out the planning form, and then I myself go over the planning form and I actually write out my own timeline and stuff, and using those notes. So then I just throw everything into a playlist that they want there, and then from there I'll organize it all, make sure, and I'll the reception, like the formalities, I'll run through too as well, not just the ceremony, but even the reception, like the first dance and all that. I will run through those as well. then that's usually about 2 weeks before. It depends on the bride if they have all their planning done or not. And then from there, almost every day, I'm already running it through at least once a day, just really making sure. And then usually by the time it's about 2 days before the ceremony, I'm running through it like 5 times a day. Just a lot of planning because I don't want to be the one that messes up the wedding. Right?
Right, right. No, that's good, and that's important. And I just again want to encourage people wherever they are on their journey. It is good to prepare. It is good to plan, and it's good to go over that plan. Even though the plan might be down on paper, you should probably read over it again and maybe one more time and maybe another time tomorrow as well. And I've noticed as whenever I'm a guest at a wedding, the difference between the great DJs and the mediocre ones is that the great DJs always know the plan. They know what's happening. They have reviewed it. It has become a part of their mind and who they are. They're not constantly looking down. They're just in the moment making it happen. And if you want to be in this industry and if you want to be a great wedding DJ, you have to have that kind of mindset where you're coming into the wedding, just like you're saying, with a presence and an understanding, and you've rehearsed and you have gone through this. And especially if you're just starting off and if you're in that first year or two of DJing, you need to be practicing your set and getting that stuff down constantly. And I was talking to somebody else not too long ago, and they told me something that really kind of caught my attention, and that is I would much rather hire a DJ that has only been DJing a year, but it's the right kind of DJ and it's the right kind of experience that over somebody who's been doing it 30 years the wrong way. There are people that have been DJing for 30 years and they're disorganized. They don't review the plan. They don't take the time to get to know the couple like you're talking about. So I'm definitely, I'm encouraged by that, to hear that from you, that you take those things seriously.
Oh yeah, yeah. And also speaking of like rehearsing and stuff, I will actually, if I'm free the day before, I will actually attend the rehearsal as well, like in person, and do the whole walkthrough. Sometimes it's without music because the bride just wants it to be a secret, but in my mind I'm playing that song. So I will actually go to that extent as well. And
Awesome. Yeah, yeah, and that is something that I would encourage people, if they have the availability and they can make it happen, um, go to those rehearsals and get the experience. You don't have to do it for all of time in your whole life as a DJ, but it is going to help you to get to know the couple a little bit better, to get to know the family a little bit better, to make sure that there's no surprises when you show up on wedding day. It's going to take the mystery out of the venue and what to expect in terms of that run through. So definitely, think that that's a great tip as well, is attend those rehearsals. And people on those DJ forums on Facebook and everything will sometimes be like, "Oh, should I go to the rehearsal?" And everybody's like, "No, no, don't do it. No, don't do it." And there's a lot of people that are just kind of anti-rehearsal, and you got to balance that with where you are personally and the kind of practice and the kind of just kind of clarification that you need. There's nothing wrong with going to the rehearsal. There's really nothing wrong with it. And
I, I assume it actually looks better. I don't know, me as like if I was hiring a DJ, it would show that they care. They're wanting to make sure that everything goes off if they attended the rehearsal.
absolutely, I agree, and I really think that that's a great takeaway for people to consider as they're listening, is that if you want to earn trust with people and really go that extra mile, go to the rehearsal, introduce yourself to the parents, introduce yourself to the couple. You are then going to have that what people call relational capital. So you're actually coming into the wedding as a safe and trustworthy person. Whereas if you're showing up on the wedding day and you've never met these people in your life, you have to start off on ground zero and try to impress them. So the rehearsal gives you an opportunity to meet them ahead of time, to earn their trust and to get to know them a little bit. So it actually puts you at an advantage by attending the rehearsal as opposed to just showing up for the wedding itself.
Well, that also goes like I feel they'd almost sleep better too the night before, knowing oh, like he is going to show up as well, because there is that issue. Some couples, especially here, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's everywhere, but this area, I got out of a wedding. It was actually that first wedding that I was talking about before. There was no cell service there, but when I got back into cell service, I had two messages from other DJs that had a bride call them saying their DJ never showed up that night. They're looking for somebody who could go. And it's like, well, I couldn't. I was at a wedding, but yeah. And so there's also that thought too, right? If you go to the rehearsal, there's pretty much a full chance you are going to be showing up for the wedding, so they don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And it's this whole idea that you need to build trust with your clients. And when you're trying to make a business out of this, you need to establish that. That's why people are going to pay you, because they're trusting that you're going to do a good job. And if you don't have a track record, if you don't have a history of doing a good job, that doesn't mean you're disqualified from being a DJ. It just means you're going to have to work a little bit harder to earn that trust. And if you do 1 or 2 gigs and you don't show up, guess what? You'll never be able to overcome that, because the word is going to get out. He's a no-show, or she is a no-show. And that is really hard to recover from. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you don't want that kind of reputation, and you can be really proactive by doing some of the things that we're talking about here.
Well, that's just it. You could have 30, 50 good reviews, but then if you get 1 or 2 bad ones, that's already now couples are questioning it, right? So
Awesome. Yeah. So I did see on your website you had some reviews. How did you go about getting those reviews? Did you ask the client to provide those, or how did that go down?
the Wedding Wire ones, yes, I have. Those are actually more recent. But the Facebook ones are kind of about 50-50. I always follow up after, just make sure like they were happy with my service and stuff, so and congratulate them again. Um, Up till this year, I would send them a gift card as well for like a Tim Hortons or McDonald's, like depending. See, there's actually some meetings that I did where they'd actually talk about that, where the groom would say, "Oh yeah, I'm a huge like McDonald's coffee fan. I don't really care for this other place." So then I kind of read off that and kind of gave them a gift off of what I learned from them, right? Make it more personal. So I kind of follow up with that as well. But yeah, no, about half of them I've asked, some I haven't.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another great thing, is that getting those reviews from people are everything in this business. The reviews are how you get more business. So making sure that you either follow up or do it through Wedding Wire or ask them through Facebook or send them a gift card, all of those things contribute to getting that good review. So it's really important that people consider that. What other things would you consider as really important in this industry that come to mind?
Website content. I find I've actually had in about 50, even about 50% of communication and/or meetings, people have said it was because my website they've noticed is actually updated. So like they'll look at it one day, but then let's say next weekend, because I've done an event, there'll be new photos up. And so I find getting photos from real events. So like even if it's not a full dance floor, just people having fun, right? Like people just I try to obviously it's harder because you can't be placing people's faces everywhere either. So you kind of got to get that fine line. But I find material like pictures and stuff like that is very useful. Pictures and videos.
Yeah, I remember I DJ'd a event, and it was kind of a dance at a kind of a community center. It was not a wedding, but it was a formal event. So everybody was dressed up really nicely. I was dressed up really nicely. And we took a ton of photos. My wife was actually my girlfriend at the time, and she took a couple photos of me at the DJ board. She took some photos of people dancing. And it's funny, those photos, because people were dressed up like they might be at a wedding or something, became the kind of that next step for a lot of people about going, oh my gosh, I guess you do this kind of a thing. So photos are so important, and making sure that they're updated and that you've got them on all the appropriate places. So yeah, that's awesome.
I try to put different photos in different places. So Wedding Wire won't be filled with just photos you'll see from Facebook. My website will have different ones that aren't on Facebook or aren't on Wedding Wire. That way they're not all repetitive too, right?
Right, yeah,
So
so
it kind of shows.
each area kinda showcases a little bit of a different, vibe, and it kinda gives a sense
Yeah,
of, "Wow, he's really kinda been around. He's done this. He is a professional, or she is a professional." Kinda speaks of a variety and not just 1 or 2 events, but kinda really shows, "Okay, this is kinda cool. I didn't see this photo yet, so I guess they've done other events as well."
right. Well, yeah, because there's like I do everything from school dances to weddings, right? So it's staff parties. So you kind of gotta. My website I find is more lean towards weddings. I find that's kind of the vibe I was going for, but I think I should probably figure out a way to incorporate more variety yet. But also, you don't need a like currently my assistant just uses my phone for pictures, right? Which is good enough. I mean, it may look. I'm not sure what like the guest. It might look like you're on your phone. I'm not sure. I never actually thought of that, but so you don't even need also just communicating with other vendors, right? So afterwards, my planning form actually asks for the photographer. So then afterwards, I'll contact the photographer, see if I can get a hold of some of the images she got of, let's say, the dance floor or something I was a part of. So that also helps.
Yeah, that's huge. And if you can even introduce yourself to the photographer on the day of the wedding and just, extend that warm, just presence and kind of just a personality of like, hey, look, I'll help you out as much as you can help me out. I have found that those relationships with the vendors are so important. And it's another thing that separates the great DJs from the mediocre ones, is that when you have a real relationship and you get the phone numbers from the other people, it shows that, oh, you're not just going to show up and get the job done. You want to be a part of the mutual success of making this day happen. And
Oh, yeah.
and that's so important. And the benefit of that, sometimes the benefit is that the photographer will share their great photos with you. So it's
Well,
a
yeah.
win-win.
Yeah. 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 Always make sure you're on good terms with the venue. When I mean, you got to listen to the bride and groom as well. But if the venue tells you, like sometimes venues will be like, well, would you be able to turn it down a little bit? We can't talk at the bar or something. Kind of just try to listen to them a little, because if you have those other vendors on your side, like the venue or even the caterers, that helps when you're working with them again, and they'll also share that experience, right? So you want to work with everyone at the wedding.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Well, we're coming about to a closing point in our time together. What is one goal or one project that you're currently working toward, or something that you're kind of looking forward to do more of in your career and your vocation as a DJ?
Kind of just, I mean, this year I've like tripled my event numbers, but I still feel like I'd like to get a bit more of a full calendar. But
Sure. Yeah, that's
uh,
awesome.
oh yeah, yeah,
And I would encourage you and others as well that like uh volume is definitely one goal, and it's a great goal, and it's something that might be the right goal for you right now in that season. And I think it's what's important, no matter where you are, is that you're thinking about what's the next step for me. And
yes.
when I got married, I was doing way too many events. And for me, and for I'm a solo op, so I don't have other DJs that work for me. And I also do other freelance and creative work throughout the week. So when my wife and I got married, I was out DJing all weekend, sometimes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday back to back. and it got to be too much. So I had to actually set up some boundaries in my life to say, you know what, I love DJing. I would love to make money, but for me in my season, I kind of had to scale back for a little while. But we're all different, and to hear that, where you're at right now is you're actually looking to grow. You're actually looking to increase that number of yearly events, and the important thing is you just know what that next step is, and that you have in your mind, I know what my goal is. I know what I'm working toward, because if you don't have that in your mind, then you can't work towards it and you can't make any progress towards it. So you're just going to kind of get more of whatever you're getting. And I love that quote from Michael Gerber. Your business is perfectly tuned to get the results that you're currently getting. So you're going to keep getting what you're doing right now if you keep doing what you're doing right now. So if you want to grow, you have to change something. And that's awesome that you're looking to grow and do more events in the coming year. I definitely wish you the best of luck to do that.
Thank you. Yeah, you also gotta balance that life, right? So you want to work more, but you also need some time for like family things and just some I'll call it downtime, just so you can kind of reset your mind a little and continue to grow more so you don't wear yourself out in there.
I love that your story and your testimony is one of perseverance and making it happen, and just that energy and that drive, I think, is something that we all can learn from.
Yes. Oh, yes. It's very important to have that.
I want to thank you so much for being a listener of Wedding DJ School. You can find us over at WEDDINGDJSchool.com. Also, you can text Wedding DJ to 44222. We will ask for your email address, and in return, we will send you all of the podcast action guides for season 1 of Wedding DJ School. So you can do that for free just by texting Wedding DJ to 44222. Lots of actionable advice that you can put to use right away, all for free. Well, we're going to continue talking with leaders in the wedding entertainment industry. We will be back next week with a new episode.